I've noticed that I'm surprisingly flexible when life circumstances drastically change around me. That's not to boast, it's because I've established a system of routine habits I can fall back on even when my schedule is completely disrupted. For example, no matter where I travel, my non negotiable predisposition to time block a gym session remains, as does my commitment to diet fundamentals despite being constantly on the move. Developing a well informed set of basics for training and nutrition helps me tweak minute details just to stay afloat. This is not to say I'm an exception to the common human experience of emotional turbulence when change hits. In fact, the opposite. When change hits, my mind absorbs the turbulence, and my first instinct is panic. Given my persona, this is often internalized rather than visually represented, so people outside of me can't really tell. I immediately start creating scenarios, secondary cause and effect, decision trees, planning, scheming. Gosh, it's so exhausting. The beauty of building a routine over time is that it forges the discipline to not be existentially reactive when the world shifts. My first instinct isn't to react externally, and that brings me to the first point: emotional control. I would call this a revised approach to traditional stoicism. I don't mean stone face your way through emotional turbulence, but just take a beat, bro. It pays to be self aware. A good understanding of your emotional triggers gives you the ability to discern situations that affect you in a certain way. I truly believe self awareness is one of the foundational pillars of emotional control. In fact, the gym validates this. Research indicates that aerobic exercise promotes emotional regulation. It reduces the perception of negative emotions, encourages us to reinterpret emotional situations in a positive or non emotional manner, and enhances control over emotional expression. That is in a research paper. I'm not cooking. I guess those are the second order dividends that stem from the deliberate pursuit of chasing a good physique. Even when you just think about it intuitively, controlling your reps, maintaining that mind muscle connection, the patience to keep showing up when motivation wanes or progress isn't as visible. These are all reps for life's challenges, right? And yeah, those red gym bros might have a contrasting experience, but on average, the modern gym goer is a low key softy at heart. Before certain PR sets, I blast Lana Del Rey, so you can connect that dot. Point number two would have to be on open mindedness. If you have watched my videos in the past, you will realize this is a different setup. This was deliberate because my time is not accommodative of my desire to shoot and then hunch over a computer for hours bashing out an edit, rather than conforming and accepting the immediate fate of losing my content flow, because God knows how much I love to create those weird, complex edits. I just went into exploration. It's crazy, isn't it? You just start a thing oblivious to what shape or form it might take, and then the progression blows your mind in hindsight. Because looking back, I would have never imagined this style of simple content, right? Sometimes you need to reject the nascent beliefs held by average people and seek new perspectives. In the gym, an interesting trope I've realized is fitness dogma. I used to hold this uninformed mindset that if I just lifted continuously for time on end, my body would just bend over to my will and abs would just pop out of the blue, right? With no acknowledgement of diet or intentionality behind recovery and progressive overload. Being ignorant is a vice that can even stem from the initial discovery of information where gurus impose one technique and decree it's the only way to do things. The goal, in my experience, is to focus on fundamentals and then build your own routine on top of that firm foundation. We may never wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden humans can think their way out of losing fat. Okay, maybe Elon Musk may say different with Neuralink and whatever, but ignore him, please. The point is, it is infinitely easier to adapt when you have an open mind. Point number three would be Point number three would be breaking habits and comfort. After performing a set of routines and habitual patterns that are detrimental to getting us from where we are to the person we want to be, you've been waking up at, say, 10 a.m., taking afternoon siestas once that carb heavy meal sits in, and then waking up in time for another egregious meal, rinse and repeat, endless cycle of poor habits, right? We are creatures of habit, fair, but that does not mean you can't break old habits. You can layer them with new ones. It's not easy, but it can be done. I think this is the key realization. Breaking a habit requires a merger of my previous 2 points: open mindedness and emotional control. Open mindedness is required to open the gates into the new habit, accepting a new process, and emotional control forges the discipline to keep you on track, resisting the panic or lure of the old comfort. See how it all ties in a way? Comfort is a beautiful cage that keeps you from changing. For example, muscle growth, right? To be able to grow a specific muscle group, you have to be able to break past comfortable weight. That's the whole essence of progressive overload. And also, to change your life, you have to break past comfortable habits. The moment you stop seeking change is the moment you accept death. This is a quote I got from Pinterest, but it resonated with me. So just consider this a journal of my thoughts and a reminder to myself of the heuristics I've adopted through the years to cope. In saying that, I am acknowledging that I don't know everything and there is an ocean of concepts to learn and new problems to deal with. Sometimes my pessimism outweighs my optimism, and I need a permanent post-it note in a corner of the internet to keep me at bay. An Apple storage is expensive and I have a doctor's handwriting, so journaling is off the table. Hello, stay dangerous.
It's not as easy as it looks.
That's exactly what the king said.